It was a cold evening in late November, and the small grocery store on the corner was almost empty. The lights buzzed softly overhead while a tired father stood near the checkout counter, staring down at the few items in his basket. A loaf of bread. A small carton of milk. A pack of instant noodles. His hands trembled slightly as he counted the crumpled bills in his pocket. He already knew the truth before the cashier even spoke. He didn't have enough money. Behind him, a short line of customers waited quietly, but no one knew the storm that was building inside his heart. His young daughter stood beside him, holding his hand and looking up with hopeful eyes. What happened next in that small grocery store would leave everyone watching in complete shock. But before we continue, if you enjoy stories that remind us how powerful kindness can be, make sure to subscribe to our channel Kindness Story Hub, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us share more real and inspiring stories that bring people together. And now, let's begin. The father's name was Daniel Carter. Just a year earlier, his life had looked very different. Daniel had worked as a mechanic at a busy auto shop in a small Ohio town. He wasn't rich, but he was proud of the life he had built for his daughter, Lily. Every Friday they had pizza night. Every Saturday morning they walked to the park and fed ducks by the lake, but life has a strange way of changing everything overnight. 6 months earlier, the auto shop had closed after the owner retired unexpectedly. Daniel suddenly found himself without a job. At first he believed he'd find work quickly. He had skills, experience, and a strong work ethic, but weeks turned into months. Bills began stacking up on the kitchen table. The electricity notice came first. Then the rent reminder. Then the credit card statement. Daniel took every temporary job he could find: yard work, moving furniture, cleaning garages, but nothing lasted long enough to stabilize things. Still, he tried to keep life normal for Lily. She was only 7 years old, with curly brown hair and the kind of smile that made strangers feel instantly warm. Daniel never wanted her to feel the weight of their struggles, but that evening at the grocery store, the truth was impossible to hide. The cashier scanned the last item and looked up at the screen. "That'll be $12.84, she said kindly. Daniel slowly opened his wallet and counted the money again. $10. He swallowed hard. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I guess I'll have to put something back. Lily looked at the basket. But Daddy, the noodles are my favorite, she whispered. Daniel forced a gentle smile. It's okay, sweetheart. We'll just keep the bread tonight. He reached into the basket to remove the milk and noodles. At that moment, a voice spoke from behind him. Hold on a second. Daniel turned around. Standing in line was an older woman with silver hair and a warm expression. She stepped forward and placed a $20 bill on the counter. I've got this, she said. Daniel shook his head immediately. Oh no, ma'am, I couldn't possibly. But the woman smiled and gently pushed the money toward the cashier. Please, she said softly. Let me help. Daniel felt his face grow warm with embarrassment. I appreciate it, really, but we'll be fine. The woman looked down at Lily, who was quietly hugging her father's arm. Then she said something Daniel would never forget. Sir, she said gently, one day someone helped me when I needed it most. Tonight, it's just my turn. The cashier nodded and accepted the payment. Daniel stood frozen. He didn't know what to say. Lily looked up at the woman and gave her a bright smile. Thank you, she said. The woman bent slightly and smiled back. You're welcome, sweetheart. But the story didn't end there. A man farther back in the line stepped forward. Actually, he said, pulling out his wallet, I'd like to add something too. He placed another $20 on the counter, for next week's groceries. Then a young college student behind him spoke up. Me too. She added $10. Within moments, something incredible began happening. People in the line started reaching into their pockets. $5, $10, $20. One by one, strangers stepped forward, placing money on the counter. The cashier stared in disbelief as the small pile of bills kept growing. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. Please, you don't have to do this, he said. But the older woman gently shook her head. Yes, we do. After a few minutes, The cashier counted the money. It was over $300. The entire store had gone silent. Daniel wiped his eyes and looked around at the people who had just changed his life. I don't even know what to say. The man who had donated the second $20 bill smiled. Just promise you'll help someone else someday. Daniel nodded slowly. I promise. For the first time in months, he felt something he had almost forgotten, hope, but the story still wasn't over. One of the customers who had witnessed everything was a local reporter named Megan Brooks. She had stopped by the store to grab a drink after work, and she had recorded the moment on her phone. The next morning, she posted the video online with a simple caption, "Kindness still exists." Within hours, the video spread across social media. Thousands of people watched as strangers came together to help a struggling father and his daughter. By the end of the week, millions had seen it, but the biggest surprise came 3 days later. Daniel received a phone call from an auto repair shop across town. The owner had seen the video. "Anyone who works that hard for his daughter deserves a chance," the man said. He offered Daniel a full-time job starting the following Monday. Daniel sat in his small kitchen holding the phone, barely able to believe it. That night he told Lily the news. Her eyes lit up. "Does that mean pizza night is coming back?" Daniel laughed through happy tears. "Yes," he said. "Pizza night is definitely coming back." Over the next few months, life slowly returned to normal. Daniel worked long hours at the shop, and things began to stabilize, but he never forgot the night that strangers had stepped forward to help him when he felt completely alone. So he kept his promise. One Saturday morning, Daniel and Lily went back to that same grocery store. They carried a small envelope filled with grocery store gift cards Daniel had purchased. Lily handed the envelope to the cashier. "For families who need help," she said. Proudly, the cashier smiled warmly. Daniel looked down at his daughter. "You see," he said softly, "kindness doesn't stop. It keeps going." And that's exactly what happened. Over time, the store started a small community board where people could donate gift cards or food for families struggling to make ends meet. The board filled up quickly, neighbors helping neighbors, strangers helping strangers, all because one woman in a grocery store had decided to say 3 simple words: "I've got this." Sometimes we think kindness has to be something big or extraordinary, but often, it begins with something very small. A kind word, a helping hand, a moment of compassion. That night in the grocery store, no one expected to change a life, but together, they did exactly that. And maybe the most powerful part of the story is this: kindness is contagious. When one person chooses it, others follow. So the next time you see someone struggling, remember Daniel and Lily. You remember that a simple act of kindness might be the very thing that restores someone's hope, and who knows, your small act could start a chain reaction that spreads farther than you ever imagined. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Kindness Story Hub, and share your thoughts in the comments, because the world could always use a little more kindness, and it often starts with someone just like you. Yellow Heart.